bargained with them, and that you come back with us with a number. This is what really it's going to cost. This is what I've agreed to, and this is the reasons that I've agreed to this, because we're getting this from them, and these are the services they provide. Thank you.
Mr. Daly.
To a certain extent, Mr. Pierce, that gets into a debate with respect to what bargaining tools I have available to me, what bargaining tools the unions have available to me. One of the things that, if I can take the opportunity right now, that I'd like to make very, very clear to everybody here is that the town of North Reading's general government workforce is extremely hard-working. Through all of these many months, and in some cases over a year, that we've been bargaining a little bit closer to each other each time we talk, and in this case I'm referring to 5 different employee groups. There's never been a slowdown of work, there's never been a threat of such a thing, and all of the employees continue to do probably 1.25 times the job that they were doing 3 years ago before we started cutting staff, because as most of you have seen, in very few cases has there been a diminution of the level of services that you're receiving. We have a good group of employees on the general government side. We have 100 plus or minus 2 people that would share in this amount of money, this $103,000. When I spoke of this in my first remarks, I said that this was what the selectmen and I believe is an affordable amount for this kind of use. And obviously, if you use it one time this way for general pay increases, then it's a recurring expense. Everyone needs to understand that. It's not just a one-time thing, and then next year it goes back to zero to be done all over again. I'll leave it there.
Ms. Mullen.
Where would the selectmen make, if this does pass, the cut of 103 to balance the budget?
Does the board understand the question? Nobody seems to be interested in coming up with the answer. Mr. Reitmeyer. Oh, Mr. Billows, you sought recognition earlier.
This lady has the floor.
You can ask the question, Miss. Okay, I will. If you would hold just a second, Mr. Billows, you'll be next. All right, to repeat Ms. Mullen's question, she asked, would the $103,000 put the budget out of balance, and where should the money be made up from? Mr. Daly.
In answer to your question, for everybody's knowledge, we would propose that this appropriation come from general taxation as opposed to stabilization or free cash, where this would be considered to be a reoccurring cost. It should come from self-renewing revenues. Taxation is the most significant one that we have. With regard to the Finance Committee's comment that this appropriation would throw the budget out of balance, further use of the stabilization fund in the current budget in other places in the current budget than here would bring that budget back into balance. Right now, the selectmen, based on the budget that's been presented to you in the warrant, have no recommendations and don't intend to consider cuts in other budgets in order to accommodate this particular appropriation. But remember, there's already been something in the order of $65,000 worth of selectmen's proposals that haven't been funded.
Mr. Billows.
Walter Billows, 175 North Street. At this point, I'm thoroughly confused, and the reason why I'm confused is because what everyone has said so far makes sense. But there are contrary views, and as a result, I'm being asked to act on something where I can only go one way or the other, and where everyone seems to be making sense. There is one thread that seems to be consistent, and that is that town employees deserve a raise. So that doesn't present the problem. The FinCom says if we vote for this 103, that may only be the first installment. We will be committing ourselves to the 103 and perhaps, I would assume, more the following year. But we don't have that defined. Now, it would seem to me that probably we are going to have to spend somewhere in the area of 103 this year, whether we want to or not, if the contracts are settled. Now I get back to the issue of obligations. The obligation of settling and coming before town meeting with a contract is that of the town administrator. He is the one who has the obligation to negotiate and come up with some kind of a viable agreement which he could then sell to the town. That's if he can sell it. If it's reasonable, I'm sure he could. And also tell us of the effect next year and of the following year. And I feel more comfortable with that. While I feel comfortable with supporting the 103 as perhaps a guidance figure, I do not feel comfortable with appropriating it at this time.
Mr. Sandorfi?
Mr. Moderator, ladies and gentlemen, it's noble for the Board of Selectmen to offer a town meeting to negotiate contracts, but it's not town meeting's role to negotiate contracts. It is the Board of Selectmen and the town administrator who were supposed to negotiate contracts, present it to the town meeting, explain the full implications, so town meeting can make an intelligent decision of essentially ratifying a negotiated contract. That is the way it was supposed to work. On the comment of establishing parameters, this town meeting is not really in a position to establish intelligent negotiation parameters for contract negotiation. That's the job of the Board of Selectmen. As far as establishing limits for negotiation parameters, the town administrator indicated that the unions have difficulty believing that the town cannot afford something. Why should they have difficulty believing that they can, or on the same grounds, why wouldn't they say that they have difficulty believing that the town can afford only $103,000 total for salary increases? So I really do not see it as a very viable approach. Furthermore, in negotiations, whoever makes the first offer can only go up and not down. If we are going to offer to settle for $103,000 total or 2.5%, the only thing we can do is go up. I don't see it as a viable negotiation tool. I agree with the Finance Committee. The Board of Selectmen and the town administrator should do their job, negotiate a contract with the unions in good faith, and present it to the town meeting so we know the full impact and we understand the full ramifications before we ratify it.
Mr. O'Brien. Motion to terminate debate. On the motion to terminate debate, all those in favor of terminating debate, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Unanimous. All right, we are once again faced with a motion for a main motion and a motion to amend. We will vote first on the motion to amend. The main motion is to appropriate $141,000 for line number 11, as printed in the sponsor's recommendation of the warrant. And the motion to amend is to amend the line item 11 salary pool supplement to $38,000 to be raised and appropriated. On the motion to amend, if you vote in favor of the motion to amend, you're voting to reduce the main motion from $141,000 to $38,000. If you're voting in opposition to the motion to amend, you're voting to maintain it at the present figure of $141,000. All right. On the motion to amend, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? No. The chair is in doubt. Will all those in favor please raise their right hands, and my tellers please go to work. Mr. Reitmeyer, Mr. Quayle, and Mr. Piero. Mr. Reitmeyer?
28.
28. Mr. Quayle? 31.
26.
26. All those opposed, please raise your right hand. Mr. Reitmeyer?
12.
12. Mr.
22.
22. Mr. Quayle? 15. The vote is 85 in favor of amending and 49 opposed. The motion stands amended to $38,000. Now on the main motion. Mr. Daly. Mr. Daly, please state your amendments.
I'd like to amend line number 11 to read $68,000 as opposed to $38,000.
You've heard the motion to amend. On the motion to amend, Mr. Daly.
Mr. Moderator, town meeting members, your message is clear. However, under the circumstances, not all of the town's employees are unionized. We have about 30% of them that are not unionized, and under the present circumstances, I don't think that it's fair or just for them to have to wait until we have all of our collective bargaining agreements settled before any pay increases that would be afforded them during fiscal 93 could take place. That seems to be the mood that I'm sensing. I'm not sure that that's what you intend. If we have $30,000 available, then I can handle the necessary matters with the non-union employees and get on with the business with regard to the union employees and bring those matters back here.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. Mrs. Belmonte, you wish to be heard on the question? Mrs. Belmonte.
Finance Committee would like to know how many employees this involves, Mr. Daly.
Mr. Daly.
This involves a total of, I believe, 35 to 40 full-time and part-time employees.
Mr. Senior. Mr. Daly.
None have been agreed to, and it's a matter of philosophical debate as to whether they, in fact, are agreed to, because we are dealing with non-union employees. Well, what that means is that there's sort of a quasi-bargaining process that's engaged in, but it doesn't result in an agreement in a legal sense. It results in a meeting of the minds as to what compensation changes would occur. No, it has not.
Mr. Bellows.
This is the first that I heard that there are non-union personnel that were included in this compensation change. I thought that this was represented to be, unless I missed it, which I apologize if I did, I thought this was to be collective bargaining. Did I miss something?
Mr. Daly.
I don't believe that you missed something, Mr. Bellows. It doesn't appear to be it doesn't distinguish between the two in the explanation that's in the warrant. This 101